Chapter 5. The Others Who Fear Me. We walked for maybe an hour, though I couldn't be sure because time felt slippery and strange, like trying to hold water in my hands. The forest thinned out eventually and gave way to scrubland, then to the edge of town where the buildings were older and the streets narrower. Atticus moved like he knew exactly where he was going, like he'd walked this route 100 times before and could do it blindfolded. I kept my head down and tried not to look at the windows we passed. Tried not to think about who might be watching. Where are we going? I asked. To meet some people. What people? People like us. My stomach twisted. Shifters? Yes. I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me was relieved because the idea that there were others, that I wasn't completely alone in whatever this was, felt like something I could hold on to. But another part of me, the part that had seen the way those hunters looked at me, the part that remembered the terror in their eyes when I'd transformed, that part was afraid. What if they looked at me the same way? We turned down an alley between two brick buildings. The walls were covered in graffiti, layers of it, some fresh and some so old the paint had faded to ghosts. The ground was cracked asphalt with weeds pushing through the gaps. It smelled like garbage and something sour I couldn't place. Maybe old food or rotting wood. Atticus stopped in front of a metal door. Rust had eaten through the edges and the handle looked like it hadn't been used in years. He knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. I heard footsteps on the other side, heavy and deliberate. The door opened. The guy standing there was massive, not tall exactly but broad, like someone had taken a normal person and stretched them horizontally. His shoulders filled the doorway. His hands were the size of dinner plates. He looked at Atticus, then at me. His expression didn't change. He's the one? His voice was low and gravelly. Yes. The big guy stepped aside. Lysandra's not going to like this. Lysandra doesn't have to like it, Atticus said, and walked inside. I followed because what else was I going to do? The space beyond the door was a stairwell with concrete steps leading down into darkness. The air was cooler here and damp. It smelled like earth and something metallic, like old pipes or rusted metal. The big guy closed the door behind us and the sound echoed in a way that made my chest feel tight. We descended. The stairs went down further than I expected. 20 steps. 30. I lost count. The walls were bare concrete, stained with water damage and something that might have been mold. A single bulb hung from the ceiling halfway down, flickering like it was about to give up. At the bottom was another door, newer than the first one. Steel with no rust. Atticus knocked again with the same pattern. The door opened immediately. The woman on the other side was maybe 40, maybe older. It was hard to tell. She had sharp features with high cheekbones and dark hair pulled back in a braid. Her eyes were gray and cold. She looked at Atticus, then at me. Her expression hardened. You brought him here. It wasn't a question. He needs to meet the others, Atticus said. He needs to leave. Her voice was flat and final. Lysandra. No. She stepped forward and blocked the doorway. You don't get to make this decision, Atticus. Not without consulting the rest of us. There wasn't time. There's always time. They stared at each other and the air between them felt charged, like right before a thunderstorm when everything goes still and electric. I stood there feeling like I was intruding on something I didn't understand. Finally, Lysandra stepped back. Fine, she said. But if this goes wrong, it's on you. She turned and walked into the room beyond. Atticus followed. I hesitated because I didn't know what I was walking into, but the big guy from upstairs was behind me and I could feel him there, a presence too large to ignore. Go on, he said quietly. I went. The room was bigger than I expected. Underground, clearly, but someone had tried to make it livable. The walls were the same bare concrete as the stairwell, but there were rugs on the floor, mismatched and worn. A few chairs, a couch that looked like it had been salvaged from a dumpster, a table in the corner with papers scattered across it. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and one of them flickered. There were 4 people in the room. Lysandra stood near the table with her arms crossed. The big guy from the door moved to stand beside her and his presence was grounding, solid. A woman sat on the couch, younger than Lysandra, maybe mid-20s, with dark skin and black hair cut short. She wore a leather jacket despite the cool temperature. Her eyes were sharp and watchful. And then there was the 4th person. A man, maybe 30, leaning against the far wall. He had the kind of face that was hard to read, neutral, like he'd trained himself not to show emotion. They all looked at me. I felt their eyes like physical weight. This is Elijah, Atticus said. No one spoke. The silence stretched out and became uncomfortable. I shifted my weight because the floor was cold through my shoes. He's the one the hunters are after, Atticus continued. The one they've been tracking. We know, Lysandra said, and her voice was tight and controlled. The whole town knows by now. The question is why you brought him here. Because he needs help. He needs to leave. The woman on the couch spoke for the first time and her voice was softer than Lysandra's but no less firm. Before he brings the hunters down on all of us. They're already here, Atticus said. They've been here for weeks, waiting for him. Lysandra gestured at me. Not for us. I wanted to say something, to defend myself, but I didn't know what to say because she was right. They were here because of me. What is he? The big guy asked, and his voice rumbled. You didn't say on the phone. Atticus hesitated, just for a second. But I saw it. He's a dragon. The room went silent. Not the uncomfortable silence from before, but something different, heavier. The woman on the couch stood up slowly. That's not possible, she said. I saw it myself, Atticus said. He shifted. Fully. Dragons are extinct. The man against the wall spoke for the first time and his voice was calm, matter-of-fact. They've been extinct for generations. Apparently not. Lysandra's expression had changed. The coldness was still there, but now there was something else underneath it. Fear. Actual fear. Do you understand what you've done? She asked quietly. Bringing him here? He had nowhere else to go. That's not our problem. It is now. They stared at each other again. I felt like I was watching something I shouldn't be seeing. Something private. I'll leave, I said. Everyone looked at me. I didn't ask to come here, I continued. And my voice sounded strange. Too loud in the quiet room. I didn't ask for any of this. If me being here puts you in danger, I'll go. You don't understand, the woman on the couch said. She was looking at me differently now. Not with fear exactly, but more like curiosity mixed with wariness. It's not just about danger. It's about what you are. I don't even know what I am. You're a dragon. She said it like it explained everything. Dragons don't just shift. They don't just exist. They're weapons. Living weapons. I didn't know what to say to that. That's not fair, Nira, the big guy said, and his voice was gentle despite its depth. He's just a kid. A kid who can burn down a city block without trying, Lysandra said. A kid who the Iron Ring wants badly enough to send a full hunting party after. I didn't burn anything down, I said. Not yet. The words hung in the air. I felt something twist in my chest, something hot and angry and hurt. I didn't ask for this, I said again. Quieter this time. None of us did, Lysandra said. But her voice had softened just slightly. But that doesn't change what you are. What we are, Atticus corrected. It's not the same. Naira, the woman from the couch, moved closer and she walked like a bird with quick, precise movements. We're shifters. Yes. But we're manageable. We can hide. Blend in. Dragons can't. Why not? Because you're too powerful, the man against the wall said. He pushed off and walked toward me. And up close I could see his eyes were brown, dark brown, almost black. Because when you shift, everyone knows. Everyone feels it. I don't understand. You will, he said. Eventually. He held out his hand. I looked at it. Torin, he said. Torin Ashvale. I shook his hand and his grip was firm and warm. Elijah Smith. I know. He smiled just slightly. Welcome to the community, I guess. Some welcome, Naira muttered. Lysandra sighed and uncrossed her arms. She moved to the table, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Fine, she said. He's here. We can't change that. But we need to establish some ground rules. Ground rules? I asked. You don't shift, she said. Not here, not anywhere near town. Not unless your life depends on it. I don't know how to control it. Then you learn. Her eyes were hard, fast. I can help with that, Atticus said. You? Lysandra looked at him. You're a tiger. What do you know about dragon shifting? More than you'd think. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. What else? I asked. You stay out of sight, Naira said. She'd moved back to the couch but hadn't sat down. The hunters are looking for you. The less visible you are, the better. I have to go to school. No, you don't. Susan will notice if I stop showing up. Susan? Lysandra's expression sharpened. Susan Merrick? I think so. She's my guardian. Your guardian. Lysandra looked at Atticus. Did you know about this? I knew he was staying with someone. I didn't know it was Susan. Who's Susan? I asked. Someone who asks too many questions, Lysandra said. And someone who has connections to people we'd rather avoid. What does that mean? It means you need to be careful around her, Torin said. And his voice was still gentle. She's not one of us. But she knows things. More than she should. I thought about Susan. About the way she'd looked at me when I first arrived. Like she'd been expecting me. Like she'd known something I didn't. I don't have anywhere else to go, I said. We know, Lysandra said. That's the problem. The fluorescent light above us flickered again and the sound was loud in the quiet room. There's something else, Atticus said. Something you need to know. Everyone looked at him. The hunters found us today. In the forest. They found us within minutes of Elijah shifting. How? Naira asked. Someone told them. The room went cold, not literally, but I felt it anyway. The temperature drop, the tension. Tot Wu? Torin asked. I don't know, but they knew exactly where we were. They came prepared. You think there's a spy? Lysandra said. I think it's possible. Among us? Among someone. Lysandra stood up and paced to the wall and back. Her movements were sharp and agitated. "If there's a spy, we're all in danger," she said. "Not just him." "I know. Then we need to find out who it is." "Agreed." I stood there listening to them talk about me like I wasn't in the room. Like I was a problem to be solved instead of a person. It hurt more than I expected it to. "Can I ask something?" I said. They stopped talking and looked at me. "What happened?" I asked. "With the dragons. Why did they disappear?" Silence. Lysandra and Atticus exchanged a look. "That's complicated," Lysandra said finally. "I want to know, why?" "Because I'm one of them." My voice came out harder than I intended. "Because everyone keeps acting like I'm some kind of monster and I don't even know why." Naira moved closer and studied me for a long moment. "There was a war," she said quietly. "A long time ago. Before any of us were born." "A war?" "Between shifters and humans. It lasted decades. Hundreds died. Maybe thousands. No one knows for sure." "What started it?" "Fear," Torin said. "Humans found out we existed. Found out what we could do. And they were afraid. So they tried to kill us," Naira continued. "All of us. They formed hunting groups. Militias. They burned entire communities. And the dragons fought back," Lysandra said, and her voice was flat and emotionless. "They fought harder than anyone else because they were stronger. More powerful. They destroyed cities," Atticus said. "Entire cities. Burned them to the ground." I felt sick. "That's why they're extinct," Naira said. "Because after the war ended, after the treaties were signed, the dragons were hunted down. Every last one. They were too dangerous to let live." "But I'm alive," I said. "Yes." Lysandra looked at me. "Which means either someone hid you very well or you're something new. Something that shouldn't exist." I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to process it. "The point is," Torin said gently, "people are afraid of dragons. For good reason. And if the hunters know you exist, they won't stop until you're dead. Or captured," Naira added. "The Iron Ring doesn't just kill shifters. They study them. Experiment on them." "That's not helping," Atticus said. "He needs to know the truth. He's 17. And he's a dragon. Age doesn't matter." I felt the walls closing in. The room was too small. Too crowded. I needed air. I started but I didn't finish because I didn't know how to finish. The door at the top of the stairs opened. We all heard it. The sound of footsteps coming down. Lysandra moved fast. She was at the door before I could blink with her hand on the handle. "Who is it?" she called. "It's me." I recognized the voice and my stomach dropped. Lysandra opened the door. Calder walked in. He looked the same as he had at school, with the same height, same build, same easy smile. But something was different and I couldn't place it at first. Then I realized. He wasn't afraid. Everyone else in the room had reacted to me with fear or wariness or both. Even Torin, who'd been kind, had kept his distance. But Calder walked in like he belonged here. Like this was normal. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Got held up." Lysandra's voice was tight. "What are you doing here?" "You called a meeting." "I came." "This isn't a regular meeting." "I know." He looked at me and his eyes were bright and curious. "I heard you brought the dragon." The way he said it, not afraid, not angry, just curious, like I was something interesting, something to study. "You know?" I asked. "Of course I know." He smiled. "Everyone knows by now." "How?" "Word travels fast in a small town." He moved closer, too close, and I took a step back. "Especially when someone shifts in the middle of the forest and half the hunting party runs away screaming." "You weren't at school today," I said. "No." He tilted his head. "I had other things to do." "Like what?" "Like making sure you survived long enough to meet everyone." The room was silent. I looked at Atticus and he was watching Calder with an expression I couldn't read. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means I've been keeping an eye on you," Calder said. "Making sure the hunters didn't get too close before you were ready." "Ready for what?" "For this." He gestured around the room. "For meeting us. For understanding what you are." Something was wrong. I couldn't explain it, couldn't put it into words, but the way he was looking at me, the way he moved, the way he spoke, it was all wrong. "You're lying," I said. His smile didn't falter. "Why would I lie?" "I don't know. But you are." "Elijah," Atticus said quietly. "A warning." But I didn't stop. "You grabbed me at school," I said. "You knew what I was before I shifted. Before anyone else knew." I suspected. "How?" "I'm observant." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you're getting." Lysandra moved between us. "Calder. Maybe you should leave, but why?" He looked at her. "I'm part of this community. I have a right to be here." "Not tonight." "Lysandra." They stared at each other. Finally, Calder shrugged. "Fine," he said. "But you're making a mistake. He needs to know the truth." "What truth?" I asked. He looked at me and for just a second his expression changed. The curiosity was still there but underneath it was something else. Something cold. "Bet you're not the only one they're looking for," he said. Then he turned and walked out. The door closed behind him. No one spoke. The fluorescent light buzzed. I felt like I couldn't breathe. What did he mean? I asked. I don't know, Lysandra said, but her voice was uncertain. He's been acting strange, Naira said quietly, for weeks now, ever since the hunters arrived. You think he's working with them? Torin asked. I think we need to be careful. Atticus moved to the door and locked it. We should assume he is, he said, until we know otherwise. But he's one of us, Naira said. He's a shifter. That doesn't mean he's loyal. The words settled over the room like a weight. I thought about Calder, about the way he'd looked at me, the way he'd studied me like I was a specimen, like I was something to be examined. He was at school when the hunters came, I said. He wasn't there today. You think he told them where you were? Lysandra asked. I don't know. Maybe. If he did, we're all in danger, Torin said. He knows about this place. He knows about all of us. Then we need to move, Atticus said. Find somewhere else. There is nowhere else, Lysandra said. This is the only safe place in town. Then we make it safer. How? No one had an answer. The light flickered again. I felt the exhaustion hit me all at once, the weight of everything that had happened, the transformation, the fight, the fear. My legs just gave out and I sat down on the floor. Are you okay? Naira asked. No. She knelt beside me and up close I could see her eyes were dark brown, almost black, like Torin's. I know this is overwhelming, she said. But you're not alone. Not anymore. Everyone's afraid of me. We're afraid of what you represent, not who you are. What's the difference? She didn't answer. Lysandra moved to the table, pulled out a bottle of water, and brought it to me. Drink, she said. I did and the water was cold and it helped. We need to figure out our next move, Atticus said. The hunters know he's here. They know he's alive. They won't stop. They never stop, Torin said quietly. So what do we do? Naira asked. We protect him, Lysandra said. Whether we like it or not, he's part of this now. And if the hunters get him, they'll come for the rest of us next. You think they will? I asked. I know they will. She looked at me. Dragons were the reason the war started. If they know one still exists, they'll do everything in their power to eliminate the threat. I'm not a threat. You are. Her voice was gentle, almost kind. You just don't know it yet. I wanted to argue but I couldn't because deep down I knew she was right. I'd felt it when I shifted. The power, the fire, the thing inside me that wanted to burn. How do I control it? I asked. I don't know, Atticus said. But we'll figure it out. And if we don't? No one answered and the silence was answer enough. Naira stood up and walked to the window. It was small, set high in the wall, covered with a metal grate. Someone's outside, she said quietly. Everyone froze. How many? Atticus asked. I can't tell. At least 2. Maybe more hunters? I don't know. Lysandra moved to the door and pressed her ear against it. I don't hear anything, she said. They're there, Naira insisted. I can feel them. Torin moved to stand beside her and looked out the window. She's right, he said. There's someone in the alley. How did they find us? Lysandra asked. Calder, I said. Everyone looked at me. He left 5 minutes ago, I continued. He could have told them. Or he could have led them here, Atticus said. Either way, we need to leave, Torin said. Now. There's only one exit, Lysandra said. If they're watching it, we're trapped. Then we fight, Atticus said. There are civilians upstairs, Naira said. If we fight here, people will get hurt. Then what do you suggest? She didn't answer. The sound of footsteps echoed from above. Heavy, multiple sets. They were coming down. Lysandra moved fast. She grabbed a bag from under the table and started pulling things out. Weapons, knives, something that looked like a taser. Arm yourselves, she said. Torin took a knife. Naira took 2. Atticus didn't take anything. He just stood there watching the door. What about me? I asked. You stay back, Lysandra said. If they're here for you, we don't give them an easy target. I can fight. You can barely stand. She was right. I could feel it, the exhaustion, the way my body was shaking. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Someone knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The same pattern Atticus had used. Open up, a voice called, male and unfamiliar. We know you're in there. No one moved. We don't want trouble, the voice continued. We just want to talk. Hunters don't talk, Torin said quietly. Maybe they're not hunters, Naira said. Then who are they? The door shook and someone was trying to force it open. Lysandra raised her knife. Atticus moved in front of me. Stay behind me, he said. The door burst open and 3 men stood in the doorway. They weren't wearing the same gear as the hunters from the forest. No nets, no restraints, just guns. Nobody move, the first one said. He was tall and thin with a face that was hard and scarred. We're not here to hurt you, he continued. We're here for the dragon. He's not going anywhere, Atticus said. That's not your decision. It is now. The man smiled but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're outnumbered," he said. "And outgunned. Be smart about this." "We're not giving him to you," Lysandra said. "Then you're all going to die." The room went silent and I could hear my heartbeat. Loud. Too loud. "Wait," I said. Everyone looked at me. "I'll go," I said. "Just don't hurt them." "Elijah, no," Atticus said. "It's fine." I stepped forward. "I'm the one you want. Let him go." The man studied me. "Smart kid," he said. He gestured to the others and they moved forward. Atticus stepped in front of me. "You'll have to go through me first," he said. The man sighed. "If you insist." He raised his gun. And then Naira moved. Fast, faster than I'd ever seen anyone move. She was across the room in a blink and her hand struck the man's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. The other two men raised their weapons. Torin was already moving. He grabbed one by the arm and threw him into the wall and the impact was loud and brutal. The third man fired and the sound was deafening in the small space. Lysandra dove to the side and the bullet hit the wall behind her. Atticus shifted and I saw it happen, saw his body change, saw the tiger emerge. He was on the third man before he could fire again. The man screamed. I stood there frozen, watching. The fight was over in seconds. The three men were on the ground, unconscious or dead, I couldn't tell. Atticus shifted back and he was breathing hard. "We need to go," he said. "Now?" Lysandra asked. "Anywhere but here." Naira moved to the window and looked out. "There are more coming," she said. "At least 6. Maybe more. How long do we have?" "Minutes. Maybe less." Lysandra grabbed her bag. "Everyone out. Now." We moved up the stairs, through the door, into the alley. The air was cold and sharp and I could see my breath. "This way," Torin said. We ran. The alley opened onto a side street, empty and dark. Behind us I heard shouting because they'd found the bodies. "Faster," Atticus said. We ran harder and my lungs burned. My legs ached, but I kept going. We turned a corner, then another, and the shouting faded but I knew they were still coming. They'd always be coming. Lysandra stopped in front of an old warehouse. The windows were boarded up and the door was chained. "In here," she said. "It's locked," Naira said. "Not for long." Torin grabbed the chain and pulled and it snapped. We went inside. The warehouse was dark and empty. It smelled like rust and old wood. Lysandra closed the door behind us. "We can't stay here long," she said. "They'll search every building in the area." "Then where do we go?" I asked. No one answered. We stood there in the darkness, breathing hard, listening for footsteps. And then I heard it, a whisper so quiet I almost missed it. "Nira." She was standing by the window looking out at the street. "If he truly is a dragon," she whispered, "the hunters will never stop coming."